What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined with my co-host, Will Cohen. Today, we're going to be doing a major discussion here about the captain, Jacob Trouba. On this channel, we've had our ups and downs with Trouba. Last season, we were pretty anti-Trouba. We thought he wasn't really the best fit for captain. He didn't really have the greatest year. But then he started off this season pretty strong, and we bit our tongues, and we were like, oh, wait. He's a great captain and he's a great defenseman. But then we all know earlier this season, the Rangers did go through a bit of a defensive slump until, just recently it was announced that Jacob Trouba would be away from the team with an injury for a few weeks. And, obviously we wish the best for Trouba. We hope he makes a full and perfect recovery from whatever he's got going on. But it does kind of bring up a point because it's kind of hard to deny the fact that since Jacob Trouba has left the lineup, the Rangers have been playing some of their best defense that we've seen all season. It's been 7 games since Jacob Trouba last played, and in that span, the Rangers have outscored their opponents 28-14. That stat was a little bit better before last night's matchup against Winnipeg. It was 26-10 across 6 games. There's a shutout in there. I think there's 2 shutouts in there by Igor Shesterkin. But I don't know. The signs are kind of pointing towards the Rangers playing their best defense of the year without Jacob Trouba. And it's kind of up to us to determine in this moment, is it because he's not in the lineup or are they just finding some momentum right now? But we'll get right into that. Before we do, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss a notification. If you're watching us on Apple or Spotify, be sure to give us a 5-star review. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think that the Rangers are better without Trouba, or do you think it's just a little bit of a fluke going on right now? And lastly, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. But before we really get into it, Will, how are you doing today, my friend?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I was having a field day with people on Rangers Twitter last night. I was just not in the mood to hear the antics, and I don't know. I'm doing good today, though. I'm about to make dinner after this, and I'm really excited. I'm making these really good tacos from a friend that gave me the recipe for them. I'm really excited for it. So I'm doing good today.
If this video gets over 100 likes, Will is going to drop the taco recipe for all the fans, maybe even a food review along with it. But let's talk about last night really quick against Winnipeg. It was definitely one of the worst performances of the season, in my opinion. Like, the whole vibes were just off the whole game. Rangers had to make a late push. Chris Kreider could have tied the game, but he didn't. Give me a check for $7 million. I'm finding a way to put that put that puck in the back of the net there. But, everyone makes mistakes. The Rangers made quite a few. One concerning stat I know is that throughout the month of March, the Rangers have played against 5 playoff teams, and they've only won one of those games against the Carolina Hurricanes, in which they earned a shutout. So is Igor carrying? I don't know. Maybe that'll be the topic of our next video. Another concerning stat throughout this season, anytime the Rangers have played a top 10 team, they have gone 10-8-1. So it's a winning record, but not by much. Kind of raises my concerns for the playoffs. But again, just let us know if you want us to have that discussion next episode. Let's get into the Jacob Trouba situation that we got going on here. I think the biggest thing that at least I take away from it is how Trouba not being in the lineup has helped other defensemen flourish. Because obviously without Jacob Trouba there, the lines have had to have been mixed up a little bit. And Lindgren too now obviously not there. But before then, we were rocking with K'Andre Miller and Braden Schneider. I think Braden Schneider has played the best hockey of his career recently with K'Andre Miller. We know that Miller and Trouba were always like the duo as the second defensive pairing, and they've been a little inconsistent this season. Trouba's had his ups and downs. K'Andre Miller has certainly had his ups and his downs. There was a point when the trade deadline was approaching that we talked about possibly trading away K'Andre Miller. But now looking at him play with Braden Schneider, I'm like, give it 5 or 6 years. Those two are going to be our new top defensive pairing. They just look so good together. They have chemistry. And when I look in the grand scheme of things with Braden Schneider and his career, he's never found that defensive partner that's helped him explode like this. He's been paired with a lot of veteran players, Nico Mikola, Ben Harper, a bunch of random bums. And he's never found any sort of chemistry. And at some point, we had the discussion where like, maybe he's the problem. Maybe the reason we can't find him a partner is because these partners are good and he's holding them back. But now, obviously, we're 100% wrong because he's playing with Keandre Miller and he looks phenomenal. And the same thing goes for Zach Jones. Zach Jones entering the lineup recently, he's looked really, really good. Another prospect that we've talked about using as trade bait throughout the trade deadline the last couple of years, talking about like, what is his future with the Rangers? I never really envisioned one, like a long-term, consistent NHL future. But now I'm watching him play and I'm like, oh my God, this kid can play hockey. So just by the fact that Trouba isn't there and the lineup is being altered, I'm seeing all these guys that I never thought would be this successful playing incredible defense. So that's just one aspect of it. I'm curious to know how you feel about the Miller and Schneider pairing in particular. But if you want to talk about Zach Jones too, feel free.
I'm actually going to talk about Zach Jones because the game, I went to the game on last Tuesday against the Canes, and I actually do know his godfather, so I went down to talk to his godfather during the game. My family knows he's from my hometown. His parents know my family. My family knows his, like, super awesome guy, works his tail off, and obviously with Jacob Trouba being out, he's proved in, I think it's 6 games now, or 6 or 7 games, he's proved that next year he's your 6th defenseman, right? That you have him right there. Like, he's cheap, and you can replace Gustafsson with him, and he looks a lot different now than when he was in the lineup, in the beginning of the season and when he was off and on. He's a lot more physical, which I know he's a shorter guy. He never really uses, he wasn't really physical before, but now he's throwing hits. He just looks a lot more confident with the puck. He's had a lot of scoring chances. I mean, it was against the Islanders, rung one off. No, it was against the Penguins, rung one off the post. Like, he's had some good chances with it. His shot's good. So, Trouba being out has really has really allowed Zach Jones to show what the Rangers have in him, and that they really don't need they don't need to sign another they don't need to sign another defenseman for the third pairing next year. But now on to Trouba. I think with Trouba, there's games where you can tell that there's games where they're fine without him, but there's also games where they're like, okay, you can see that they miss his leadership or, locker room presence. And I think when he does return, and I know this is kind of off going like another path, but when he does return, honestly, I'd keep everything the same. I'd put him with Gustafsson, have him down there, like, balance out the minutes. You don't have to like take him off the penalty kill or anything. It's not a demotion. Just balance out the lines, because Schneider and Miller are playing so good right now. Like, I've never seen Braden Schneider play this good of hockey before, like on consistently. Like, he has been very good. And Miller is too. They're feeding off each other. So when Trouba comes back, I'm absolutely keeping the line pairings the same. And I'm just I would just balance them out and leave it at that, see how it goes. I know that was kind of off like the beaten path, but I've been thinking about that for a while now.
It's
definitely get off my chest.
It's definitely something to consider because, throughout the season, Jacob Trouba has been, like we said, pretty inconsistent. There's some games where we really need him. Other games where we're like, he cost us the game, basically. And at this point, I know it's only been 7 games. So, Schneider and Jones could both just be flukes right now. And next game, they could both just, play like garbage. But based on what we've seen so far, it kind of seems like 2 young, really good defensemen that are benefiting this team compared to one inconsistent guy whose main contribution is just leadership and, the occasional controversial hit. And I don't want to hate on Trouba because, we love Trouba at the end of the day. He's our captain. We're always going to have his back. But, the idea of keeping that pairing of Miller and Schneider together, it just sounds so enticing. The only thing that makes it hard to believe that it would actually remain a thing is because Trouba is the captain. He's making $8 million a year. There's no way, just based on that logic alone, that the Rangers put him in a third pairing, unless it's kind of like there isn't really a second or third pairing where like Lindgren and Fox would get the majority of the time, and then second and third pairing kind of just split it evenly. Kind of like instead of doing a top six, bottom six, you just have like a top nine kind of thing, but just in the defense. But I don't know. Like the stats don't lie. I mean, you look at it. The last two games that Trouba played were back-to-back losses for the Rangers against playoff teams, albeit, but at the end of the day, back-to-back regulation losses. Then all of a sudden he gets injured. 4-0 shutout for the Rangers. 3-1 win for the Rangers. 1-0 win for the Rangers. And yeah, we might have gotten blown out by Tampa Bay, but that game was a lot closer than the stats might provide. Then all of a sudden drop a touchdown on Pittsburgh, win against the Islanders, and then obviously in the last game we lose against Winnipeg. But that whole game was horrible. But I don't know. Like I don't think I have a decisive opinion on this. Like I see the benefits that have come and like what has changed since Trouba was injured. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and be like, put him on LTIR and let's never see him again until the playoffs. I want to see Trouba play. I like Trouba. The Trouba train is always coming, but I see the stats, and the stats are definitely intriguing, and I'm going to be sure to keep a close eye on them as those weeks progress until he's returned. And maybe my opinion will change by then. But are the Rangers better without their captain? I'm going to leave it as a very solid maybe.
Yeah, I agree. It's a maybe for me.
I can see it being true, but I'm not fully convinced just yet.
Yeah, I think it's a maybe, but I don't know. I mean, they've looked fine, but there's also games where but like the games where we've lost when he's not in is like yesterday. Yeah, we played a terrible game, but we were really good in the first period, and obviously down the stretch, like it was kind of like two lucky bounces that really screwed us over. And same with the Panthers game. It was a soft goal, and the Maple Leafs game was a skills competition loss. So like does that really count? I'm like, no, like you lost in a shootout, like who cares? So like I can see it being true, but I can also see it, at the opposite way. So that I agree. I'm a maybe as well.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll be sure to continue on this little storyline we got going on as the weeks progress, but that about wraps up today's episode of Fireside Rangers. If you enjoyed watching, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so to miss notification. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, please. I know this is another one of those controversial topics. Me and Will are a little in the middle here, but maybe some of you in the comments are absolutely sold on your opinions. Like you could be an absolute Jacob Trouba hater and just want him off the team forever, or you could be his lawyer coming out here to defend him. Please let us know because we're in the middle. We could be swayed either way, and I would like to have an opinion on the matter, or a strong opinion, I should say. And lastly, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Let us know let us know what you want us to talk about. As the playoffs build up, we're kind of just waiting to see what happens. So if there's anything specific, let us know. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.